afar, Janitzio looks something like a rounded pyramid, with the figure of Morelos perched at the top, ramrod straight, his right arm pointed at heaven, calling upon God to improve the lot of his people. Rounding the far end of the island, below the statue which is perched at the edge of a high cliff, we can fully appreciate its size, only slightly smaller than the Statue of Liberty, but with a wider and more capacious body enlarged further by a broad clerical cloak. We pull closer to the shore and the statue disappears from sight, replaced by bustling jetties at the base of a large plaza beyond which rise a series of stairways, switchbacking their way up the steep hill which is Isla Janitzio. There are no roads here, so of course no cars or trucks. Everything is carted up the island several hundred feet, either by hand or by burros. Poor, sad little things, clippity-cloppeting up and down the concrete and stone steps of the city, dutifully delivering whatever to wherever, in return for a regular bag of oats. The broad main stairway of the town ascends past souvenir shops, food stalls, and restaurants, winding its way up to another plaza containing the church and its cemetery, the main focal points of the celebrations of Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, when tens of thousands of pilgrims descend upon the island for candlelight processions. Strangely, the church is a rather small affair, with curtains of crepe paper hanging down from the rough-hewn wooden beams, and only a few icons and statues scattered about in niches. We are a bit disappointed. The center of such an important and famous celebration ought to be more impressive, oughtn't it? Never mind. The top of the island beckons, and we slowly work our way up the sometimes vertiginously steep stairways, breathing hard with the effort, and envying the youth of the boys who carry their heavy burdens quickly up the steps without ever breaking stride. Our path carries us on and up, past ever more souvenir shops and restaurants, whose proprietors live in rows of shacks clinging precariously to the steep hillsides behind. How many shops can this place support, all selling pretty much the same stuff? A conundrum we've asked ourselves everywhere we've been. The answer seems to be, as many as you can fit on the street. It's a mystery. Mystery or not, the shops and stalls seem to be full. The sound of excited voices exclaiming over a find or haggling with the shopkeepers pours out onto the stairways from bottom to top, creating a pleasant din, which wonderfully now finds itself in competition with a whistling wind just sprung up from somewhere across the lake, reawakening hopes of rain. And hungry, we stop to sample some pescado blanco, purchased from a vendor whose small table is outfitted with a charcoal-heated, deep-fat fryer. The tiny raw fish is scooped up from a bucket, dumped into the boiling oil, and are soon as crunchy as pretzels. Drained and liberally sprinkled with a spicy sauce, the crispy critters are handed to us in plastic cups. They're to be eaten with small plastic forks or your fingers, if you don't mind the grief. Breathless, we finally make it up the last set of stairs and get a full view of the huge statue standing on a high pediment, still beseeching God with its arm raised to the sky. Built of various sized blocks of a local reddish-brown stone, separated by rather wide bands of gray mortar, the statue appears to be a mosaic, which, we suddenly realize with surprise, it is. The solid masonry construction makes for a structure with walls massive enough to support their own weight, yet allows the largest amount of interior space possible. For a paltry sum, we enter the hollow statue and find ourselves indeed in a surprisingly large space. A series of spiraling ramps and stairways ascends 100 feet up along the statue's walls, ending at the base of a narrow spiral staircase which climbs another 20 feet or so into the circular observation platform located in the upraised arm. The stuccoed walls alongside the ramps are decorated with a series of large, colorful murals depicting the life of Jose Maria Morelos and are a lesson in Mexican history. As we climb, we see Morelos, a mestizo of mixed African and Indian ancestry, baptized on October 4th, 1765 in the Cathedral of Valladolid, a city which has since been renamed Morelia in his honor. Here is his ordination as a priest in 1797. More murals depict the suffering of the ordinary Mexicans at the hands of their Spanish rulers and the various attempts at insurrection and revolution. These were often led by local priests like Morelos himself, here debating with a conclave of bishops against their support of a repressive Spanish colonial regime, and there remonstrating with soldiers who, with rifles and bayonets, are attacking peasants armed with pitchforks and stakes. Here on September 13, 1813, Morelos and other patriots declare Mexico independent of Spain. And there we see the great man, eyes burning with passion as he delivers his famous speech abolishing slavery some 50 years before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. The last series of paintings shows Morelos on the run, and finally his ultimate capture and execution by firing squad at barely 50 years of age. I've decided to climb the last narrow spiral staircase. After what seems like dozens of people have come down, the way is clear and I begin the claustrophobic journey upward through the narrow tube that is Morelos' arm, until I reach a circular platform which runs the circumference of what, from the outside, has the vague appearance of a wrist. Set at eye level along the wall are numerous but rather small portholes, from which I can see the countryside round about the lake. Over there is Pátzcuaro, with its city blocks outlined by trees, the twin towers of its main church rising above them, and the pine-forested foothills ascending in orderly ranks to the high Sierra, a vision in shades of green. The windows are open, glassless, so that the wind, now collecting ominous-looking ranks of clouds, can whistle through them, adding its own music to the symphony of the senses, which is yet further enhanced by the faint but unmistakable fragrances of the green universe stretching out before me to the jagged horizon. The taste of rain is on my tongue, and the stone walls, rough to the touch, complete this sensuous circle, and I'm held suspended for a moment in one of those uncanny satoris of existence, the illusion of oneness with all creation. The moment, as they all do, eventually passes, and I must still make my way back down Morelos' arm, now a birth canal at whose end I can suddenly look down a dizzying, unimpeded 100 feet to the hard, tiled floor below. Even without falling, the way down is easier than the way up, and before long we are back outside in a hurry to get down to the dock before the clouds, which are now doing some serious gathering, can split open and drench us with what would surely be a frigid baptism. The first big, heavy blobs of rain fall on us just as we make our way into the boat, dryness and warmth. The downpour begins in earnest as we pull away from the dock, and as we head into the lake, Isla Janitzio and its iconic memorial slowly dissolve into the mist behind us, no more substantial than a phantom, a dreamscape of disappearing stone and vanished history.